waits for something similar to happen again. So you see like a bit of like the crosshair meandering over the Doom. Um, that is what like I don't know what he's thinking and what he's feeling at that moment, so it's a bit hard to comment. I mean, best case we would have him here and tell us how he feels, or I ask him, in the middle of the game, but it's impossible, right? Because I mean, you will not remember how you felt your aim to be 2 weeks ago in a match. There's no way you remember how your aim feels in that split second. But what I can infer is, you see his crosshair meandering around the Doomfist. You see, like it goes left and right and left and right. What this could mean, I mean, to me, is one of two things, right? Either he's reacting to the Doomfist, he's reacting to the Genji blading. I mean, he beats, right? But he's deciding, or he's trying to predict where the Doom is gonna go, but he's over predicting, and he doesn't really know where the Doom is gonna go. It's very similar to when you're playing. I'll give you a Kovacs example for people who play Kovacs, right? If you play a close range kind of scenario where they're strafing quickly, as they do in Overwatch, they strafe quickly. What ends up happening is if you play it for too long, or if you play it for too long, yeah, you'll start over predicting, and you won't be jittery, but you will have these kinds of moments where you're swinging your crosshair left and right, you're meandering your crosshair around a target because you think he's gonna move, because you think he's gonna strafe, because you think he's gonna, let's say in this case, punch, but he doesn't, right? So you end up losing this valuable time. So the way that you combat this is this kind of like, I would say, what would I classify this as? Would this be overprediction? I guess it would be, but this is very minor. This is literally a one-time thing, kind of. I mean, earlier we had under prediction where he's not aiming, not aiming, but like he's holding his crosshair still because he doesn't want to disorientate himself. But in this kind of case, we have over prediction. So over prediction, the way that we solve it is I usually tell people to just play against people that long strafe, or play long strafe scenarios to get, I mean, just to get a feel of their aim. How does aiming against a target that is not moving, how does aiming against a target that is moving predictably feel, and how can you apply that uh, and react to movement, right? So it's easier for you to learn how to track a target that is moving in a straight line, and then build on top of it and react to the movement, like learn to react left and right, than to start off at learning to react fast left and right and building these kinds of habits where you over predict and you meander your crosshair on a target. This is like a one-time thing, so I won't like harp on about it. It's probably not a problem for him, but in this specific case, I want to point out, because this is quite common, especially for people that play aim trainers a lot. I'm sure a lot of you guys would have faced this issue in the past or are facing this issue. For people that play games like Overwatch, like for people that mainly play Overwatch, this won't be such a big issue. Maybe some days you'll catch yourself doing it, but it's a pretty big thing for people that mainly play aim trainers. Yeah, you definitely had that problem. Yeah, so it's a mainly an aim trainer problem. I would say it's down to a couple of things, right? So it can be down to a couple of things where you didn't build that long strafe foundation well. Um, but what that long strafe foundation, the core of it, what it really relies on is you focusing on the target. I've always talked about this, but if you focus on a target properly, you won't have these over prediction issues that much. Because you are looking at the target, But I mean, okay, for Lucio, you can understand it. It's a projectile hero. He has to predict, and it's a lot more common where this kind of issues can occur. You're good at long strafes, that's good. Uh, but yeah, so like a good way to help a lot of people is you build long strafes first, and then you go to fast strafes. But if you're really good at long strafes and you're bad at fast strafes, then it's a lot about you're reacting to the movement itself. So it's a really easy situation to dissolve. So if you start can I draw? If you start with fast waves, so FS, you will have this problem. You have this problem of overprediction, right? Fuck. If you start with long strafes and move into fast strafes, but your fast strafes are ass. So what does this mean? It means that you are not reacting to movement either correctly, uh, or you are not reacting to movement correctly, but you're not reacting either fast enough to movement, or you're misreading the movement and therefore reacting wrongly to the movement, right? And how do you fix this kind of things? Is if you react wrongly to the movement, or if you don't react fast enough, then it really all depends on your focus. And when I'm talking about focus, I'm not talking about your focus on the game. I'm talking about where are your eyes looking, which part of the target, right? So a lot of people, especially if you come from aim trainers, they tend to focus on the silhouette of the target because in Kovacs, what you track are these, right? You track these. Literally, you track that, right? You track those, and an easy way to cheese them, or not really to cheese them, but an easy way to make it easier to react to fast strafes and long strafes on these kinds of targets is you track the edges of the target, right? So if you're holding here and he moves right, or he moves left or right or whatever, your crosshair has time to meander on a target, and you'll still be on the target, right? But it's not really the case in actual games, especially in games like Overwatch, where it matters when you hit shots, right? So if I were to focus on the silhouette here, it's gonna be a lot harder, right? Because his silhouette, the silhouette of Doomfist here, the silhouette of any character in the game is not static. His silhouette keeps changing, and that fucks up your brain when it comes to how do I react to this target's movement, right? Because his silhouette will always keep changing, especially for Tracer. When Tracer strays left and right, her whole body shifts sideways, right? If Tracer strays left, her whole body shifts this way. If she strays right, her whole body shifts that way. How is someone that focuses on the silhouette of a target going to be able to aim? And the answer is they're not going to be able to. It's going to be really hard. So again, a lot of this kind of issues where you're over predicting, can be solved by if you learn to focus and you actively make sure and you catch yourself and you focus on a part where you want to focus, right? So, let's say I focus on a head, I focus on a point on the target, I focus on a point here, a point here, a point here, wherever I want to focus on a target. It is infinitely better than focusing on the silhouette of the target. But at the same time, you need to ensure that while you're focusing on this point, you still have a general grasp of where the target is moving, right? Because if you focus on this point, it becomes a lot harder to read movement because it seems like the target is a lot smaller. It's only this dot. So you need to keep it into perspective, and that's where it's difficult, right? That's where the difficulty of learning where to put your eyes comes. Is you need to put your eyes on a point, but you need to have the adaptability to understand essentially when can I enlarge this point and when can I make it smaller. And so in cases where the target is not moving, you can make the point on the target smaller and smaller and smaller. And in cases where the target is fast strafing, you make the point bigger and bigger and bigger, but it will never be a silhouette. You just make the point bigger in your head, and you allow yourself to dilate your pupils. Maybe I don't really know like the medical kind of aspect behind it, but you essentially allow your focus to dilate and you focus on a bigger point, so it becomes easier to track rather than focusing on a silhouette and putting your crosshair here and having it just essentially bounce everywhere. So this is the idea of focus in games and how it can play into prediction, play into over prediction, even under prediction would play a part, right? So under prediction is essentially where the target is moving in a predictable fashion, and your area of focus is too big, right? So it can happen, right? But a lot of under prediction comes from not wanting to over predict. So, take it as you will. I mean, again, like you can see, like over here, it's a lot less of vertical prediction, where now he's over predicting, right? Or I mean, I guess before he was predicting at close range anyway, but it's really obvious here because you see his crosshair bobbing up and down on this Lucio. when he's wall riding on a vertical surface. You can see that, right? Like that is a classic example of overprediction in aim, especially at close range. So again, like it's just an issue of inconsistency or just a lack of control and lack of maybe the mentality of aiming at closer ranges and a lack of some vertical control that causes this inconsistency at these close range fights. He probably could have killed that Lucio, but he didn't. So it's unfortunate, right? But I mean, they probably already won this fight. So, even if he had insane aim, it wouldn't have mattered if he killed the Lucio there. So that's what I'm saying, right? But in the case that it does matter that he kills the Lucio there, in the case that that soldier was alive, they had visor, that Lucio kill could have won them the game. So aim doesn't always matter.